On February 26th, Governor Deval Patrick discussed his 2014 budget proposal with members of the Neponset Valley Chamber of Commerce. The event took place at the Four Points Sheraton in Norwood. This video runs approximately 45 minutes.
Well, good morning, everyone. And it's great to see such a nice crowd here this morning. A lovely February day. And we appreciate you coming out to spend breakfast with Governor Deval Patrick this morning. So thank you again for being here. I'm Tom O'Rourke. I'm the president of the Chamber. And in just a moment, I'm going to introduce our chair, Sabina Hurley. But I just wanted to say just briefly how important it is to the Chamber to have a connection to our local and state and federal officials. And we work on that throughout the course of the year in a number of different ways. We have a Government Affairs Committee that we're reconstituting, so if anybody is interested in that, I know you're all political wonks, so you wouldn't be here today, so if anybody's interested in that, please let me know afterwards, because we are getting that re-energized. And we work throughout the year with our local officials. And one of the things that we've been doing the last couple of years is a legislative reception, which we'll be doing again this year in May over at the Endicott Estate in Dedham. And it's a great chance for business people to get to know the folks who are making decisions that impact business on a daily basis. So I do hope you'll take advantage of that. And I'm sure you're interested in those things or you wouldn't be here today. So we appreciate that. We're going to get right into the program. I know you've all been very patient in waiting and doing some networking this morning. So what I'd like to do now is introduce the chair of the board for the Chamber for 2013, Attorney Sabina Hurley.
Thank you, Tom, very much, and welcome, Governor Patrick. Deval Patrick was re-elected to second term as Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in November of 2010, renewing his commitment to expanding opportunity and prosperity in Massachusetts. First elected in 2006 on a platform of hope and change, Governor Patrick entered office propelled by an unprecedented grassroots campaign. Despite a challenging economic environment, the Patrick administration maintained and expanded the state's investment in critical growth sectors while delivering timely budgets and cutting state spending. Governor Patrick funded public education at the highest level in the history in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and its school reform initiatives earned Massachusetts the top spot in the national race to the top competition. And through targeted initiatives that play to the Commonwealth's unique strengths, like his landmark 10-year billion-dollar program to promote the state life science industries, the governor has positioned the state as a global leader in biotech, biopharmaceuticals, and IT, and as a national leader in clean energy, including making Massachusetts home to the country's first offshore wind farm. Governor Patrick is a graduate of Harvard College and the first in his family to attend college and Harvard Law School. After clerking for a federal judge, he led a successful career in the private sector as an attorney and business executive, rising to senior positions at Texaco and Coca-Cola. In 1994, President Clinton appointed Deval Patrick as Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, the nation's top civil rights post. Diane and Deval Patrick have been married for more than 25 years and have 2 adult daughters. Welcome, Governor Patrick.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Sabina, thank you for the very warm introduction to you and Tom and all the members of the board, to the members of this chamber, the members of the legislature who were here. First of all, my apologies for being late. It's been one of those mornings. I had a, you don't really want to hear all this, but I had a, my wife and I have been traveling for the last 10 days or so, first on a trade mission and then a couple days of vacation and then the governor's meeting in Washington. We finally got home late last night. We came in yesterday afternoon and had an event in the evening, came home late last night with all of the bags from all of those different trips and all of those different climates, unpacked it all in the front hall and started rearranging laundry and dry cleaning and all that stuff. and then set the table for a dinner that we're supposed to host tonight at home. So I started on to gather and review my notes this morning before coming, and the printer broke. So if you've ever had a morning like that, that's the reason I'm late, and that's the reason I'm going to try to deliver my brief remarks on this thing. If I pause between paragraphs, it's because it's gone dark and I have to put the passcode back in. But I'm going to try to be brief, because I think it'd be most fun if we had some conversation. Sometime during the big blizzard earlier this month, I was out on a pike heading to or from the bunker in Framingham. I don't actually remember which. Except for the plows and emergency vehicles, the roads were clear of other drivers. The forecasts at that point were pretty definite. Most of the work of preparing for the storm was done. The big decisions, like whether to declare a state of emergency or to impose the travel ban, were made, except for the constant business of tracking the path of the storm, reading my hourly email updates on outages, shelter needs, and school closings, and getting on the periodic briefing calls with the members of the cabinet. There was little for me to do at that moment. And so for a minute, I let my mind wander to that nearly empty road, knowing that it would be jammed again soon enough with people who depend on it. And I thought to myself, believe it or not, our grandparents gave us this. Like Route 3 and I-95, or the street I came down to get here this morning, like the T and Logan Airport and UMass and Bridgewater State, like that bunker in Framingham that we used during emergencies, the generation or two before ours asked themselves what kind of Commonwealth they wanted for themselves and then for us, and then set about to shape it. They sacrificed to make things better for us, making investments that led to one of the greatest expansions of wealth and opportunity in the history of the world. We take it all for granted now because they made it possible for us to take it for granted. As you know, I've challenged us all to ask ourselves these same kinds of questions again. What kind of Commonwealth do we want and need for our time and for the generations to come? What kind of educational opportunities do our children need? What kind of roads and bridges and public transit system do we need? What does a leading-edge economy and a just community need and deserve to accommodate current growth today and encourage faster growth in the future? And instead of dodging the question that both politicians and the general public hate, I have also asked us to think hard about how to pay for it, to have an adult, fact-based conversation instead of an hysterical one about taxes. Mostly, this is just what we've been having. The Senate President, the Speaker, the legislators I've met with in their hometown coffee shops and pizza parlors, the business leaders in their boardrooms and factories, the teachers in early ed and leaders in higher ed, the maintenance and repair workers at the T, and the people I have run into in the street and in their neighborhoods and in the grocery stores. Mostly, they have not retreated to the usual rhetorical corners. They have considered the facts candidly, if a little nervously, and I am grateful for that. And I'm hoping for more of the same with you today and among you in the weeks and months to come. Let me tell you what I'm hearing. People in town want subways that run later in the evening. People in the suburbs and in our gateway cities want regional buses that run on the weekends and bridges that are safe. People in New Bedford want a way to have access to the work and social opportunities in Boston, and people in Boston want access to the affordable housing in the South Coast. People in Pittsfield want better connections to markets and customers in New York City, where the economic orientation in Western Massachusetts is much more north-south than it is east-west in Eastern Mass. Everybody wants projects that are built more quickly in a system that is more modern. We all want safer, smoother roads that are more comfortable to drive on and cause less wear and tear on our cars and trucks. We all want better access to jobs, affordable housing, and recreation, and we want it equitably in every corner of the Commonwealth. Of course, every mom and dad wants the best education for his or her child. It's true no matter what neighborhood they come from. Kids understand that too, even little ones. I have countless really wonderful opportunities to listen to their stories about what they want to be when they grow up. And as a parent, I hear optimism and energy, eagerness, and hope. As a governor, I hear a call to action. Whether it's from adults or children, whether about schools or roads, it all adds up to the same thing. Everybody wants opportunity, and opportunity requires growth. What our residents want is not frivolous or unreasonable. In fact, it's precisely what this Commonwealth needs to be economically strong today and tomorrow. Last month, I laid out a plan to prepare for that future. The budget I filed is a plan for growth by investing in education, innovation, and infrastructure to grow opportunity. By our best estimates, it will take $1 billion in new revenue dedicated to transportation to pay the bills we inherited, restore our roads and rails and bridges to a state of good repair, and expand the system modestly but strategically so that it unlocks economic opportunity and growth throughout the Commonwealth. Everyone knows that a comprehensive transportation system is vital to supporting and growing our economy. Workers need it to get to their jobs, students need it to get to school, tourists need it to get to the sites, police and firefighters need it to get to emergencies, business people need it to get to appointments, people need it to get to the doctor, to the grocery store, to the gym or the rink, to the movies. Whether it's good roads, reliable commuter rail, frequent bus or subway service, a nearby airport, or a convenient ferry, transportation is about more than moving from point A to point B. It's about the quality of life, about our economic activity and growth. It's about opportunity. Likewise, because our job growth depends on our innovation economy, and because the success of that depends on a well-educated workforce, I have also proposed to target new investment in education where it is shown to have the highest impact. It will take another $900 million or so in new revenue to get the nearly 30,000 kids off the waiting list for early education, to extend the school day for middle schoolers in gateway cities so they get what they need, to make college more affordable, and to support our community colleges as the platform for skills training. Again, business leaders, including some of you in this room, have called for just such investments for many, many decades now, and you are right to do so. Brainpower is our signature economic edge, and failing to invest in that in Massachusetts would be like Texas failing to support the oil industry or Iowa their corn farmers. Ironically, now that we have put the means on the table to make those investments, some say now isn't the time to invest in education. Let's just focus on transportation. To those who say that now is not the time, I challenge you to show me which 4-year-old we're going to ask to wait. There are 240,000 people looking for work in Massachusetts right now and 120,000 vacancies. And what employers are telling us is that they can't always or even often enough find the people with the skills they need to do the jobs they have. How can we possibly wait to build a more robust and responsive system of adult education and workforce training? As you know, I have proposed to fund these investments mainly by rebalancing the sales and income tax rates. Specifically, I proposed to cut the sales tax from 6.25% to 4.5%, raise the income tax from 5.25% to 6.25%, double the personal exemptions, and eliminate a number of special deductions that no longer serve us very well. The upshot is that for about half the workforce, total taxes would stay the same or go down, and for the other half, they would go up according to one's ability to pay. If you make about $100,000, your total taxes would go up a couple $100. If you make about $220,000, a couple hundred more. That's the order of magnitude we're talking about. And with these changes, tax rates would become or remain lower than or comparable to all of our neighboring states and those of the other states with which we compete. I've also, again, proposed a number of reforms to improve the way government functions and achieve further savings. The total projected savings from these latest measures, if enacted by the legislature, will be over $100 million annually. They follow a raft of reforms over the years, including closing loopholes and extending the retirement age in the public pension system, asking public employees to shoulder a bigger share of their health care costs, replacing police details with civilian flaggers, simplifying the transportation bureaucracy and shutting down the Turnpike Authority, systematically combing through and discarding or updating old regulations, reducing headcount by 6,000 positions and more. These and other reforms have enabled us to invest in education and in innovation and in infrastructure even during the downturn. And that, in turn, has led to faster and a stronger recovery in Massachusetts than almost every other state. But it will not be enough to give us the 21st century transportation and education systems our people deserve and our economy needs to grow stronger. I'll just end by saying this. Americans rarely leave the things we decide are important entirely to chance, if you think about it historically. When we decided that educating our children was important, we created public schools and land-grant universities. When we decided that settling the West was important, we built the Transcontinental Railroad. When we decided freedom was important, really important, we freed the slaves and eventually gave women the right to vote. We tend to shape our own future in America, not just leave it to chance. Kicking the can down the road is a recent phenomenon in America and in Massachusetts, and not a good one. Our grandparents didn't leave the Mass Pike or the T or I-95 or that infernal MEMA bunker to chance. They made choices that shaped a better future. Now it's our turn. I look forward to your questions. Thank you again for having me this morning. Let me stay here.
So folks, yeah, well, I'm just going to ask that if folks do have a question for the governor, that they please come to this microphone to ask, and we do have time for a few questions. So I just ask you to come here if you have that and just identify yourself.
This moves too. I can do this Oprah style and run.
I'll start as an example, just to show people how it's done. Actually, a little bit off the topic, though, but an important issue for small businesses, obviously, health care and the way the Affordable Care Act is going to change what we have for a model here in Massachusetts. Your administration has been extremely supportive of small business and our ability to come together in cooperatives to get discounted health insurance for small businesses with 50 or fewer employees. We're afraid that that is going to go away under the Affordable Care Act, and I don't know if there's anything that your administration can do or we can do to work with the federal government to keep that provision.
So, Tom, we worked too hard to get to the, and I thank the legislature for helping us, to get to the place where we could aggregate as small businesses to get the buying power that big businesses have. To retreat on that. So that's not going away. We're going to have to work with the federal government, because while the affordable, you know, unlike, just to digress for a minute, we did access in the Commonwealth before we did cost containment, and that was a conscious decision. I think you guys actually debated that at the you weren't around, Paul, were you? But John, you were, right? I think you actually debated that at the time, whether to do them together or do them in series. The Affordable Care Act attempts to do the two together, but doesn't go quite as far in cost containment as we have since gone in cost containment, with two measures, including the one that contain the authority of small businesses to aggregate into co-ops. So we're working our way through that. Unfortunately, because we are the model for national health care reform, they try to be pretty accommodating to us, because they want us, they like it. They like us.
Well, we appreciate that support, and
you bet.
Look forward to continuing it. There must be at least one other question.
Questions, comments, advice? Yeah.
Governor, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can.
Right there, I'm right here.
I don't know what the microphone bit was about.
A quick question on the Blizzard 13, which I thought was very well managed by you guys at the State House up there. And I know that we've run out of money for future storms this season. Can you explain to me how that happens, and what do you do, and how do you tap into?
How that works?
Yeah.
So what's your name?
Brian.
Brian, so the money we've run out of, I think you're referring to, is the snow and ice budget?
Right.
And historically, it was, I think, almost always funded at less than what we thought it would actually require. Is that right? And then the administrations would go back to the legislature and through a supplemental budget ask for more. What we've done in the last few years is we haven't, frankly, because it's impossible to accurately anticipate what the cost is going to be. I mean, last year we had a surplus in the account.
You got away easy.
Right. We all of us got away easy. And because it sometimes takes a little while to get action on the request for a supplemental budget, what we got was a change in the law. We still have the budget line item, but we can spend in deficit now, so we don't have to wait to pay the bills. We basically have a credit line, and then the legislature comes back and fills it in. So I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
I mean, I hope we don't get another blizzard of 13 in 13. I hope we don't get a blizzard of 13 in 14 or 15.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And what time's dinner tonight?
What's that? What's this? 7 o'clock, and don't be late. You can bring dessert.
Hello, Governor. My name is Dana Bodor.
Hi, Dana.
And I have a quick question about your tax proposal.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not such a quick answer, but you know, the increase in the income tax,
Yeah.
obviously. I have to commend you on finding a pretty effective way to scale that increase in the income tax, given that we're constitutionally required to have a flat income tax in
Right.
the Commonwealth,
Right.
and to be able to structure that in a way that has a greater impact on the higher incomes than the lower
It's a little
income
more
population.
progressive. That was
Right.
an objective.
Right. But at the same time, we do know that increasing taxes does impact consumer spending. And you have a room full of small business representatives here, and that there is a concern about that. What are the economists telling you about the impact of the increase in income tax, since this is a 19% increase in the income tax rate
Right.
at the time when we're still in a very delicate economy? What is the impact on consumer spending going to be in this state?
Great question, Dana. So the economists are, first of all, remember, these are companion pieces. So the income tax goes up, the sales tax comes down. The reduction in the sales tax actually is very good from a consumer purchasing point of view. And as I say, total taxes for about half of the population actually go down, those two in combination. I will also say this, that economists more and more, what's the right way to put it? Poo-poo is not the right way to put it. They moderate, I think, correctly, the impact of tax changes within a band. In other words, if you said 19% sounds like a lot, and it is a lot in real life, but it's it's nothing like New York. We're still not like New York. And yet we compete with New York fiercely right now in the tech sector of all things. New York's income tax is a lot higher, even after my proposed change. The sales tax is a lot higher than ours. Today we compete really hard. There are a lot of other factors in what creates a successful economy than tax policy. Tax policy is part of it, but as long as we are in a range of competitiveness and we don't get too, we don't blow out that range, then we're okay. We often in Massachusetts point to New Hampshire when we think about the sales tax in particular. Now remember, New Hampshire is just one of the states we compete with, but we hold our own with New Hampshire, and actually their property tax burden is quite a bit higher than ours, which is how they make up the difference. So you got to take some of this stuff in the mix. I should also say, by the way, that the business tax, which we cut from 9.5 to 8 over the last few years, is quite competitive with the region and the states we compete with elsewhere in the country as well.
Thank you.
But you're right to think about that, and I want you to know we've thought about that. We've thought about that too. Dana, can I just say one last thing? Just to repeat a point I was making earlier. This is one proposal for how to do it. Right? There are a bunch of other ways to do this. I was interested in the progressivity, which is one of the reasons why we went in this direction. There's been a lot of talk about the gas tax, for example. I tried that a few years ago. I still have, you know, the wounds from that experience. In fact, what's rather nice about the gas tax from my perspective is that you can't spend the proceeds from the gas tax on things other than transportation constitutionally. So that discipline is important, which is why I propose that we dedicate all sales tax revenue to infrastructure. But in order to pay for transportation, just that part of it, with the gas tax alone, we'd have to triple the gas tax. We'd be way out of, we'd be the highest in the country by far. And that's why I didn't go there. But there may be, you know, blends of the different ways to, more than one way to skin the cat is what I'm trying to say. Yes, sir. Good morning, Sabina's husband.
Anyways, how are we doing on education compared to other states and other countries?
We're #1 in America in student achievement. We are number 3 or 4 in the world in math and science. We're doing really, really well. And that is not by accident, and that is not only because of money, by the way. I want to thank the legislature for supporting the Chapter 70 request we put in the last few years, and the fact that even during the downturn, in part for a couple of years there, thanks to the president's stimulus bill, we were able to beat the previous year's record on Chapter 70. That's really good. The reforms and flexibilities in the public schools, the new ideas, the investment of new ideas, is as important, if not more so. So, the so-called innovation schools, some people call them in-district charters, wildly successful and coming on strong. Now, here's the issue: we still have a persistent achievement gap, and the kids who are stuck in that gap are poor, or have special needs, or who speak English as a second language. A disproportionate number of them are children of color. They're not all, but disproportionate, I mean, to the proportion of people of color in the general population. They're concentrated in gateway cities. And the strategies that are proven to work are early education, quality, not babysitting, right? Early education, driving toward literacy and numeracy proficiency by 3rd grade, and extended learning time, longer school day in middle schools. I would say the first time I expressed an opinion about longer school days was as a candidate in 2006 in front of 400 middle schoolers in Marlboro, and I almost did not get out alive. But we have, we have a calendar that's really based on farming, right? The school day and the school year is organized around the farming calendar, and not a whole lot of us farm anymore. And for kids in gateway cities in particular, that extra time on task, as they say in the sort of policy speak, turns out to be very, very high impact, and that's why those two pieces are in the education part of this proposal. You can both come if you want.
Governor, thank you. I'm Michael Boynton, Town Administrator in Walpole.
Good morning, Michael.
Governor, as we were in our EOC in Town Hall at the height of the storm, the general consensus is your decision to limit traffic and to shut down the roads save lives. That was an outstanding decision. There is no other way to put that. We clearly, looking at what happened in New York after the storm, gave even greater credence to that.
But
I think folks forget. Well,
there's a but coming.
No,
I can feel it. Just go ahead and get there, Michael.
No, truly, 30-mile backup of 30-mile stretch of the LIE closed because they didn't do what you did. Again, gave greater comfort to the decision that was made. It truly saved lives. Now, they're predicting maybe an inch or two tonight, and my DPW is wondering if you do the same.
I don't want to push.
Makes it so much easier.
I don't want to push my luck or yours.
Governor, you made a statement this morning that really tends to put things in a very clear perspective. We're going through a discussion in town now about municipal facilities and replacing several municipal facilities, including a police station that's in a building well over 100 years old, fire station, et cetera.
Yeah.
And you said the turnpike, as an example, was left to us by our grandparents. And I think that's truly the point of where this discussion needs to go, is what will we, as our generation, leave for future generations? And truly, folks that take a look at those of us that make decisions regarding public spending at times forget that we also pay the same taxes that others pay. And these are not light decisions that need to be made. We have an amazing legislative delegation with John Rogers, Paul McMurtry, and our other folks that are working with us in your amazing DOT staff. I see Frank DiPaolo here today to help bring the Route 1A project to fruition. And that's something that we're going to continue to push for, because that's going to bring jobs. Yep. It's going to help the local economy. But more importantly, the overall topic and the overall conversation is extremely timely. And if someone has a time or can point to when that better time will be to raise taxes, I think all of us are open to it. I'm not sure there is a better time, and I'm not sure when we're ever going to get to that perfect time. So having the conversation right now is very timely. Thank you for it.
Well, Michael, I thank you for that, and I probably shouldn't say anything because you said it. You said it better. Thank you.
Hi, Governor Patrick.
How are you? I'm well.
My question, I mean, and I appreciate, by the way, what you have done. I think it's fair and equitable in terms of the tax balancing for people to fund important things. Mm-hmm. I live in Stoughton, and the South Coast Rail is a big discussion and not a positive one in the towns around where I am.
Right.
So I'm wondering what kind of research was done, because our sense is, you know, we may build the rail, but they may not come.
Who's they?
The people in Fall River, perhaps, supposedly wanting to come up to Boston.
Well, yeah, they've been talking about it and wanting it for 30 years. They've been promised it for 20. We've done, you know, the rail. Let me just first say, rail is not the sole solution in every part, sole transportation solution in every part of the Commonwealth. But it's also true historically that wherever the train has stopped, it's been good economically. Wherever the train has stopped in America, it's been good economically. There used to be a rail line that connected Fall River and New Bedford, our 4th and 5th largest cities, to the economic hub of Boston. And you know, basically, we're looking to revive that route. The economic corridor impact, and there's an impact. It's online, isn't it, Frank? Well, you don't know. You're not the rail guy. You're the highway guy. But the corridor study, I think, is online. I'll get the jump site for you if you want, okay, and send it to you, which shows.
I mean, I'm pretty sure people in our town have been working really hard, you know, having committees and looking
on
at
both sides of the
general,
question.
yeah.
On both sides. I think Stoughton actually is probably might be the hotbed. Of,
yeah. Well, they're calling it the Stoughton solution, you know.
Yeah, and I think
but,
actually
but
this.
You know, things have been built in the past with a really positive idea,
yeah.
And yet people don't naturally do what you want them to do, and to have to go through what needs to go through, to not have it really utilized and have a lot of research proving it will be.
Well,
that's our only concern.
Have you tried driving on 24 during rush hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, try that sometime.
I know, but people still like to drive. I mean, there's great transportation available, and people don't always use it.
Yeah.
They still drive into Boston like I do and pay to park instead of taking a T.
So I actually think so let me then step back from your question, because the last part of what you said provokes, I think, a really important point, which is that it's never just one thing, right? You've got to do things, and this is part of what we've been trying to build to, and frankly is enabled by taking all these different transportation agencies and mashing them into one. When you are, you know, you could do things. We're going to do, for example, all electronic tolling on the Pike, right? So there won't be any more toll booths, toll takers, and so you just keep going, highway speed. And either your transponder will collect it, or if you don't have a transponder, they'll take a picture and send you a bill, which is the way it's done in many other states. So that prompts a conversation. Well, should there be gantries? These are the electronic thing that goes over the. Should there be gantries at all of the major entry points into the city? I'm not expressing a point of view about that. I'm just saying that's a that provokes, now you have the technology that provokes a conversation. Do you then toll for everybody who comes into the city as a matter of equity, and also as a way to do congestion pricing? And if you do congestion pricing, which London and a couple cities in the States have done, is that a way to encourage more people to get on the train and come in rather than come in and park, so that you relieve congestion on the roads, so that you maintain the quality of the road for a longer period of time? Now, you may say, personally, doesn't matter to me, I'm driving, because I got my music and I've got my phone, and that's my space. And Americans do that. You know, it doesn't matter what the differential. But some people are much more sensitive to those adjustments. And if you have a train that's convenient and has Wi-Fi and is clean and comes on time and so forth, you might make that choice, and that might be better for the greater good. So we have to have that kind of flexibility. We have to have the tools to be able to make those kinds of choices and encourage different kinds of behavior, if not on your route, than on others.
I mean, and don't misunderstand, I do support public transportation.
I know you do.
And I do hope it's better. I just know that a lot of times the plan is great, and everything gets all upset, but that people don't always utilize it. And I'm assuming that the research is there saying they definitely will utilize it, and here's how we're going to make them.
It's there.
You know, for the upset.
And to your point about the planning not always going well, that brings to mind the Big Dig, which was just a great idea, in my view. Better idea of $5 billion than $22 billion. But the Big Dig, the utilization that was planned for the Big Dig, is a fraction of what it turns out to be. It has been a hugely important economic success, and much more so than it was projected to be.
Right. Okay. I hope you're right.
Thank you. Sure.
Governor, thank you. My name is John Antonucci. I'm the superintendent of the Westwood Public Schools.
Hey, John.
Right next door.
Yes,
I'm here with the central office administrative team from Westwood. We're happy to be here. And I just want to go back to education just for a moment and first say we are so grateful for the unwavering commitment that you've had to K-12 public education, pre-K-12 education over the last several years. The amount of Chapter 70 money coming into districts even like Westwood is tremendous and historical, as you mentioned. I do have one comment, however, because you did speak about all the reforms that have come with that financial commitment, and I applaud them. However, a lot of them are focused on the gateway communities and other areas in need. I can only speak for Westwood, but Westwood is a high-achieving, high-performing. We run on all cylinders. Our MCAS scores are among the top in the state. In one case, we have the #1 school in the state. Yet all of the regulations and all the reforms are essentially one size fits all. And I think while they're supposed to sort of inspire and push innovation, they've actually slowed it down in some cases. In fact, we've become more compliance-driven than ever. And what I would ask or comment on is that as we look to the future, even with the legislators here, that we perhaps customize regulation and customize reforms so districts like Westwood can continue to succeed. There's a lot of Westwoods out there. And while we appreciate the financial commitment and the investment, we
no
still
strings.
would like, well,
show me the money,
some
no strings.
So that's it. But again, I thank you. But as we look to the future, we do need some relief. I'm really afraid that educators are going to be pushed over the edge, and I think we're going to lose some really key people.
John, thank you. Thank you very much for the comment, and also for observing the blessed truth that there are a lot of Westwoods in the sense of a lot of school districts that are really firing, as you say, on all cylinders. One of the objectives of the Achievement Gap Act was precisely the opposite of what you just said, so we should talk. And that is that the more and more research and, frankly, common sense shows that the solution for closing achievement gaps has to be very tailored to the population of kids and sometimes the individual kid or classroom. And the objective, or the sort of working principle of the Achievement Gap Act, was to create that kind of flexibility so you could do stuff that you thought made sense in Westwood, whether it was right in downtown Boston or not. So if it's not working that way for you, that's something I definitely want to hear more about. Okay. Have you spent any time with Matt, the new secretary, Matt Malone?
I do know Matt.
Shall I have him call you?
Yeah, we'd love that.
Okay, I'll do that. Can you just make a note of that? Great.
Morning, Governor.
Good morning.
Steve Fradkin. We have 3 more shopping days until the next fiscal cliff. And I know, according to WBZ this morning, that's going to cost the Commonwealth a good deal of money. What are we doing?
Well, the fiscal cliff. So we had a... Try to get away without the question coming up. I know. I was almost out of here, too. I see my time is up. So we had a meeting, the governors, yesterday in the White House with the president, and that was the whole conversation, Steve. How it can be averted, why isn't it being averted, what would it take to avert it. There's one plan on the table and only one plan on the table, legislative plan, and that's the president's. And it contains a mixture of cuts and loophole closings to raise revenue. The loophole closings are the ones that Speaker Boehner proposed 2 or 3 months ago, and the cuts go deeper than the sequester. They're phased in a different way, which would make it easier to absorb, and the Speaker won't even bring it to the floor because it has revenue in it. Never mind that it was the revenue he proposed a few months ago. The impact on Massachusetts is still is hundreds of millions of dollars, but no one knows yet when or where. And frankly, that is a big part of the problem. That's a big part of the problem. The Title I money, you guys get Title I? You probably don't.
No, we don't.
You don't get Title I. Title I education money, which mostly goes to more challenged school districts, is estimated to be about 13 or 14 $1 million, and the question there is, does it happen right away, or is the Department of Education able to push it off so that it falls in next academic year, which would still be in the federal fiscal year? So how do you plan for that? We don't know, because they haven't given us any guidance yet. In fact, I would say most of the impact is likely to come outside of state government. It's going to be things like defense spending. We have a big defense industry here in Massachusetts. And I'm not just talking about bases, I'm talking about suppliers like Raytheon, component suppliers, electronic suppliers. They're making preparations now, but they don't know whether that means that existing contracts will be cut back, cut off, or there will be some kinds of decisions about which ones to go forward on and which ones not. And by the way, that gets caught up in this whole flexibility and discretion argument that they've been having in the last couple of days in Washington. We get our hospitals and universities get research institutions a lot of NSF and NIH grants. Same question: do they get cut back proportionally? Do they do some and not others? We don't know, and I don't think we will know until sometime next month, to tell you the truth. So we've run a bunch of different scenarios in state government, but they are just that. They are exercises to help us practice and prepare, but they're not based on actual guidance yet, and we're not going to get that actual guidance from the federal government until they get a decision out of the Congress. I wish I had a better answer, believe me. And with that, thank you all.
Again, thank you, Governor Patrick, for spending time with us this morning. I'm sure this was a lot easier than meet the press the other day. I appreciate everyone coming out here and being a part of the important conversation that we have to have and we'll continue to have in the coming months. So please continue to participate, and thank you all again for being here. We'll see you soon.
School systems and stuff like that. I mean, as far as education and the different grants and programs, I mean, is that something that could be well affected?
There's going to be an impact on education, especially federal funding, direct federal funding to districts for poor school districts, for kids with special needs. The question is, do we feel that impact in this academic year or in next academic year? That's part of the uncertainty, but it's going to be tough.
In projects like, I know the 93 interchange, you had 93 128 stuff like that. Would that still be on track, or is that stuff that?
It should be. There is some jeopardy to federal highway funds, and again, how that gets sorted out, we've not yet been told.
And just a lighter note, I know you're a big music guy. I mean, there's a big battle going on about the rock song. Do you have any suggestions?
No, I'm not going there. Thank you.
Okay.
You guys all right?
Yeah, I had a question. You talked about this one way of doing things with sales tax and income tax. Would you consider a plan that would just affect one of those taxes and not the other one?
Well, look, I'm not going to bargain against myself, but I'm open to more than one way to achieve the objectives. What we need to do is agree on the objectives, and I think $1 billion annually to have a 21st century transportation system and $900 million more to make sure that our education system reaches every child is the right set of objectives.
Thanks, Governor.
Everybody good?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate the time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.